In this lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to add a reflection to an image. You can do this to shapes as well, but for this example, I'm going to be using a photo. So if we go up to File, Place, and select Photo from our user files. And we can place that into the document, just left click, and then using the scale tool, we'll just bring it down. There we go. Now what we want to do is left click the image, go edit, copy, edit paste in place, and then object, transform, and reflect along the horizontal axes. And with our smart guides still enabled, just drag it down until it snaps in place. So we should have something that looks like that. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is select the rectangle tool and create a rectangle. And if we press Command Y on the Mac or Control Y on the PC, you can see the outlines of where our photos sit. Let's just line that one up. So the black rectangle that we're creating just matches the size of the bottom photo. So you should have something that now looks like this. So what we're going to do next is select both the black rectangle and the upside down photograph underneath, go to the transparency palette and click Make Mask, and we can untick Clip. Now next we want to make the mask itself active because we need to edit that. So at the moment you can see the orange outline here shows that the photo itself is being edited, so we just need to click there. Okay, so now we're working on the mask. So if we go to Gradient, and then just click on here. Okay, so anywhere that's black effectively removes part of the image, anywhere that's white keeps part of the image. So if we change this to -90 degrees, you'll see here it's a bit more faded at the bottom and less faded at the top. So if I bring this up, so more black, it fades the bottom even more. And that's how you control how much reflection is going to be in your image. But why isn't the bottom totally invisible? It's still partly see-through. Well, that's because the black we're using isn't completely RGB black. So at the moment you can see the values here are 29, 29, 27. We need that to be all 0. Okay? You can see there it disappears. So if we create that as a new swatch, I didn't want to create that as a gradient swatch. What I want to do is deselect that, go in, and then edit this swatch itself. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my gradient and I'm going to drag this new pure black on top of here. Okay, so now as I adjust it, you can see it changes the reflection, and with the fully RGB black it now completely removes part of the image, whereas before it didn't have these 3 zeros here, and that's what you want, otherwise there's still going to be part of your image that's visible. So now we can adjust our image like so, and then you can move this slider along here to also control the location of the gradient and where it starts to fade out. And we can just click this to switch back to our simple view. And there you go, we've now got our image. And one last thing you can do is just select it at the bottom, go to transparency, and you can just reduce the opacity. So see, now it's reducing the opacity of the mask. What I've got to do is go back and select the image itself, then reduce the opacity. Otherwise it's going to reduce the opacity of the mask that we've created, and we want to keep that as we've edited it. So make sure that you have the image on the left selected when you want to finally reduce the transparency and fade out your reflection. Okay, and that's how you add a reflection to an image in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to be showing you how you can add texture to text or an image using opacity masks. So let's select our type tool, click, and let's type texture. And let's bring it up nice and big. We can leave this as editable text if we like, that's absolutely fine. So you may have your own texture now that you'd like to import if you know how to do that, but if you don't, Illustrator has some already preloaded. So you go over to Symbols and select this drop down in the top right, and then down to Open Symbol Library, and then Artistic Textures. And you'll see that you get this additional palette pop up. And there's a whole host of different textures here, and you don't have to select the artistic ones, but I think there's one in here called Charcoal that I can click and drag onto the artboard. Make this a little bit bigger with the scale tool, and you can see it's quite a nice texture for that weathered grunge look, and that's what I'm going for in this lesson. So at the moment that's a symbol, so if we go to Object and Expand, leave these two ticked and click OK. So now pressing Command Y on the Mac or Control Y on the PC, you'll see that as before, we can see every detail of every element of this shape. So now we want to apply this to our texture text. So what we can do is we can drag this on top. Let's make it a bit bigger just so it covers all of the lettering. And I'm going to make it black. And I'll need to switch back to the other view mode so you can see. So as you can see, I can change the colour of this symbol now I've expanded it. Okay, so now what I can do is select both of these, so that's the text and the symbol that we've expanded itself, and I'm going to go over to the transparency palette, and I can then click Make Mask and untick the box that says Clip, and as you'll see, it's now applied this weathered grunge effect to our text. And like I said, you can do that to text and you can do it to images. And if you want to undo that, you can click this, go to the transparency palette and just click Release, and it will then separate those shapes back out. And that's how you can add texture to text or images using opacity masks in Adobe Illustrator.